Good morning, everybody. I wish I could say how nice it is to see you. It's nice for us to be together this way, but I miss seeing you here in the sanctuary. I look forward very much to the day when we can all get back together and laugh and hug and be together the way we always have been. So this works, this is good, but would be a whole lot more fun if we were all in the same room. However, we are learning a lot in this. I want you to know that while I think the virtual thing is amazing, I miss you. I miss each and every one of you, and I look forward to the day that we get back together. In thinking about this, it was sort of a challenge to figure out what to talk about on this Mother's Day, because usually on Mother's Day, we talk about the usual stuff. We do the feminine face of God, or we do something about the goddess, or we do women's roles through history and how it all goes together spiritually, things like that. But somehow this year, for me, none of that really fit. This is such a different time. There's so much going on that it is so unusual that I'm not at all quite sure how to fit the pieces together. So I have given some long and hard thought to this today, and I'm glad that we can share it, and I am trusting that you all will understand that this is not your usual Mother's Day talk. I appreciate all of us that are mothers, and more than I can tell you, and we mother in so many different ways, and it isn't role specific anymore. So happy Mother's Day, everybody, and here we go. I was figuring out what to talk about, and in addition to that, I have been teaching a class on the Eye of the Storm that the Reverend Gary Simmons has written, and it's about embracing conflict and finding peace. And in order to do that, we needed to define conflict. And in working on it, he has several different things that cause conflict. And one of them, and one of the biggest objects that causes it, is major competing goals and values. Now, this can be whether it's a competing goal and value. Richard and I were laughing the other day because we are now both at home and we do dishes differently. He likes to wash up each dish and put it on the counter, and I like to do all my cooking and soak the dirty dishes while I'm finishing up my cooking. And then when my cooking is finished, I take them all and I put them in the dishwasher. So we have a competing value, if you will, because he's always picking up after me, and that was just the spoon I wanted, or it was just the dish I needed. And I discovered that he's already washed it and put it away. So that's a competing goal. It's a competing value, and it's little and it's fun, and we have good communication, so we were able to talk it over, and it didn't create a big problem. But a larger competing value for us this day as a country is this whole question of whether we open up or we do not open up. There is a real competing value in our society, and it's running rampant, and we're all engaged in it, and I want to talk to us a little about how to organize around it. The science and the medicine say we're not there yet. The pandemic hasn't spiked. You have to wait till the numbers change. You have to stay home. Please, please, please stay home. That's one value. The other value is the value of the marketplace. The marketplace is saying, we've got to get open. We have got to get business rolling. We have got to get this started back up again because the economy is collapsing, and it's better to simply take the risk, bet on the numbers, take the risk, get out, and get the economy rolling. Both sides have a valid point of view. The question is, how do you handle a competing goal and a competing value of this size? The problem with conflict is that it needs clear lines of communication in order to resolve it. We need to have both sides present their points of view and then find a compromise, a way to go forward that works with each value. And at the moment, we don't have that. And if you don't have clear communication, what happens is that we each become more defensive about our position. My position is right because I'm with science. No, this position is right because it is the marketplace. We all work, we all need money, we all need to get the market back open. And the more that we become defensive about our positions, then the more we become competitive. And the more competitive we come, then it becomes kind of a lifestyle. We master the art of manipulation. I'll tweak this number. I will not have that test. I will create this. I will create that. We have much more of a sort of defensive position to defend. And then there's the question of control. Who controls what study? Who controls where we go? Who controls when you can go? What's open? What's not? So then we have control issues. And then there's deception. There's just plain, flat out not telling the truth. All of this is a way of controlling a competing value, all right? And the more we manipulate, the more we create situations where somebody has to lose. That's the problem with competing goals and values. If you don't have clear communication, sooner or later, one side or the other has to lose. And then the loser feels diminished. The loser feels angry. The loser feels resentful. I was really right about my position and I got lost. I got swept under the rug. But, the winner loses as well. For winning simply reinforces the need to be right all the time. And that need covers up insecurity and inadequacy. If we don't have good, clear, open lines of communication, then we have competition. And if we have competition, we have conflict. So what do? Here is this situation. You all know it just as well as I do. We are all living through it. How do we now survive living in the pandemic? Well, always for us, a good place to start is you get in touch with what our instincts tell us. Prayer, meditation, listening in the silence, that still small voice that is God that speaks within us will always tell us the truth and will not ever lead us astray. It's important to get in touch with our instincts, to not lose track, to listen to what we need. But it's not quite enough. We've none of us ever gone through a pandemic. You can look at the ones from 1919 and you can see how it was similar, and then you think, oh, gee, I don't know how to react in this. I don't know what to do with this. So I would urge us, prayer, meditation is always good, but there's more. We need more. So the next thing I did is I turned to the Bible for guidance. I'm a minister. I do this. The Bible's a thing. And it is kind of cool. I will tell you, if you just don't have anything else to do and you've got a problem, Google the problem and then put -Bible after it. You would be amazed at the number of Bible stories that come up about what you've got to do, or what you might want to do. However, this time when I Googled competing goals and values, not much came up. There was one obscure parable that was of no use at all. So I thought, well, the Bible's no help. I went to the Daily Word to see what their Bible reference was, and their Bible reference was, in fact, from Proverbs. And it was traditional role models, tradition, mother, traditional, the woman is the teacher that keeps the household, honor the mother, which is fine, but this is a different time and a different thing. And it isn't anything about how to manage our conflict. The problem with it is that if we have to compete to get what we need, we do so at the expense of our own sense of wholeness and self-esteem. So the more we compete, the worse we feel about ourselves. So what to do? Prayer and meditation is good, but not quite enough. The Bible, not a huge help. So I went to metaphysics, and I have always enjoyed metaphysics and didn't really understand spirituality, at least for myself, until the wonderful world of metaphysics. So in order to study metaphysics, we have to step back a pace. Take a breath, take a look at the larger picture. What is really, truly going on here in the larger picture? You know, metaphysics speaks to us of an ageless order of all living things. It's God was from what was that always was from the very, very beginning of what was. And that is an ageless order. So the world has seen a lot and has come through a lot. So we have microorganisms that join together and they climb up out of the ooze, and by the sheer grace of the development of the universe, here we all are. Metaphysics again. There is an ageless energy that keeps us all working together. And I would love to define it for you. I wish I could say it's this and this and this and this, but I can't. I just know that it works, all right? Whatever that power is, it's ageless and everywhere present, always. So how does that help us survive the pandemic? Well, there's good news and there's bad news. The more challenging news first. The Bible tells us that the rain falls on the just and the unjust, and so too with the pandemic. The pandemic is absolutely gender neutral. It doesn't care about age, it doesn't care about place, it doesn't care about money. It is everywhere, and we are all in it together, and it, honestly, who and what you are and where you live does not matter. The pandemic is out there. The good news is the same is true with metaphysics. Metaphysics is also absolutely neutral. It doesn't care about our age. Metaphysics doesn't care about where we live. Metaphysics doesn't care about our gender. Metaphysics is everywhere, and we are all in this wondrous, whirling, amazing power of the universe together, no matter what is going on. Therefore, we are all subject to the same guidance. You know, everything begins as a divine idea, and it travels through each of us, our minds, and travels through our filters, and then manifests into who and what we are. We have to keep in touch with ourselves. We have to remember who and what we are at this time when everything is standing on its head. The thing that we use here in Unity to help us do that is we use our 5 principles to help us do that. So I would remind us today that this is how we survive a pandemic. We remember that God is everywhere present. The energy created by all living things is the energy that we have chosen to call God. It's called many different names. It is, as you know, some people call it Buddha, some people call it Spirit. There's a wonderful song, it goes on and on. Any name will do. Whatever you choose to call this magnificent energy is fine. It is that power in all things that is everywhere present at all times. We must remember that. There is no place, what is it Tim says? There is no spot where God is not. And that's true because we are generating that power even as we are here this morning. Principle number 2 is that we must remember that the spark of the divine is in everyone and everything. I truly believe that everyone is doing the best they can, whatever that is. Whether I agree or I don't agree, I think everybody's trying. So frightening as the pandemic is, it is part of this living universe that we are in right at the moment. And our job is to figure out the best way to go forward through it. Principle 3, our minds create our reality. And this is the really, truly tricky part. We must choose not to live in fear. And it's very easy to be overcome. The more we live in fear, the more fright we put in the universe, the worse it gets. So the more I'm afraid, the more you're afraid. And the more you're afraid, the more the universe is afraid. There is this tsunami of fear. We're hiding in our houses because we're scared. We're running out too soon because we're afraid the economy will collapse. We're creating an aura of fear. And it's our job as metaphysicians to change that. It's our job to create a different atmosphere. It's our job to remember that the light of God surrounds us all at all time and in all places, and therefore there is no need to live in fear. It is important to be prudent, not scared. It's important to be thoughtful, not overreactive. Principle 4. With prayer and meditation, we are able to align ourselves with our hearts. We're able to align ourselves with the truth that we know and to live the truth that we know. So keep calm and listen. That's what prayer and meditation is about. The still, small voice of God is always within us, always speaking to us, never leads us astray, but we have to sit down, be calm, and carry on. Now, I want to add a little piece here that we don't usually put in that, but I would urge people to read good stuff, read spiritually uplifting things, look at books of poetry, look at articles, take a look at stuff that will uplift you, that will open the pathways to hearing your voice of God. The same is true for TV. Don't leave on the scare channels. You know, if you have to check in once a day, that's cool, I get it. But the fact of the matter is, uplifting things. I know it's crazy. I have a friend who always watches the Hallmark station. But you know what? There's always a happy ending. People helping people. Anything that we can do to help us hear the voice of God. Finally, principle 5, we live the truth we know. You know, metaphysics is energy. And it's not enough to sit around wringing our very well-washed hands and wondering, oh my, what do we do? We know that the light of God surrounds us, so we can move forward bravely. We help each other. We check in with our friends, our family, our neighbors. We write that note that we've been meaning to mail. Improve our gardens, even work on the little plants that we maybe have out on the balcony. It's important to make the world a better place for the insects and the birds and the planet and the air. Everything we can do at this time to make the world a better place are some of those things that are ours to do. Each of us is called to do what we must do, but we can go forward carefully. Follow the guidelines, wear masks and gloves, keep physical distance, be careful of others. The world is a different place today, but you know, we still live here. It is where we are at this time and in that place, and it's just different. So the name of this talk was, So What's New, Mama? And I wanted to say that here on this Mother's Day, the role of women is becoming increasingly different. We're all home, we're all together, we all are engaged in whether or not we can educate our children at home, we're all engaged in who goes to the grocery store, we are all doing things that we're doing in a different way. Gone are the days where one spouse goes out the door and earns the money, the other spouse stays home and takes care. Those days were gone already anyway. But the fact is that it's all changing. It's all different. Since we're all in this together, we're working differently at the maintenance of our households. You know, time slips and slides around us, unanchored by anything that can be verified. And, you know, maybe over time it really doesn't matter. We can remember telling our great-grandchildren about the great pandemic of 2020. That was a time when we sheltered in place, but we drew closer. A time when we learned to care more for one another. We cared more for one another, and we cared more for the planet, and we worked hard at remembering to do those things that are ours to do. And most specifically, right now, we remember that we are all one, and that the light of God does surround us, and that we are safe. I want to go right now to an affirmation so that we can stick this in our minds. That's what we do with affirmations. That's the reason we do them. So I want you to repeat them after me. You're all at home in your houses and you're all watching, so speak out. I know that I know. I am one with the universe. I know that I know that all things turn for good. And so it is. Amen. Next up, we have Tim. Thank you. It's been a joy to be here this morning. And again, I look forward to a time when we are all together again. Thank you.